Welcome to the world of stories. This is HRB Verse, where every story is real, heartfelt, and unforgettable. Subscribe now and become part of a journey you'll never forget. I'm a 30-year-old man who spent the last 8 years in finance. I live in a modest home on Kansas City's south side, which I bought for $400,000 in a nice neighborhood. Years of grueling 60-hour workweeks and careful budgeting earned me every penny. Growing up, the family dynamic was clear. My younger brother, Caleb, 4 years my junior, was the favored child, while I was just there. Caleb could do no wrong in my parents' eyes. A failing grade in math, the teacher was unfair, quitting yet another job, the workplace wasn't supportive. Meanwhile, I faced constant scrutiny. Be more responsible, set an example. That's what older brothers do. I heard it so often I could recite it in my sleep. I didn't grow used to this because it felt right. I adapted because expecting less from my parents meant less disappointment. It was about getting by. High school was tough. Caleb's junior varsity basketball games were celebrated, but my parents skipped my academic decathlon state finals, where I placed second, because Caleb needed a ride to his game. My silver medal ended up forgotten in a drawer. For college, I worked 2 jobs to cover my tuition at Missouri State, while my parents fully funded Caleb's education at Mizzou and gifted him a new Civic for graduation. I got a firm handshake and a lecture about expectations. Only one person in the family made me feel valued, my grandfather. He wasn't warm or sentimental, but his actions spoke volumes. He'd have a cup of black coffee waiting when I visited, saying, "A young man like you needs to stay sharp, not dulled by sugar." When my computer broke during my first job and I couldn't afford a new one, money quietly appeared in my account. When I thanked him, he brushed it off. "It's from my savings, not much, but enough to keep you going." He never mentioned it again, but I never forgot. A World War II veteran and machinist for 40 years, my grandfather was tough but fair. He taught me practical skills, changing oil, fixing leaks, investing wisely. "Never depend on others to build your future," he'd say while we tinkered with his old Chevy. He attended every milestone, high school, college, and my finance certification, handing me a card with $100 and a note. "Proud of you." Those simple words meant the world. When he passed, I lost the only family member who saw me for me. At the will reading with Attorney Charles, my grandfather's careful planning was revealed. He left $200,000 each to Caleb and me, $100,000 to my parents, and split ownership of their house 50-50 between Caleb and me. The attorney explained that my grandfather didn't trust my parents to divide the estate fairly, fearing I'd be left with nothing due to their favoritism toward Caleb. My parents were stunned. My mother's jaw dropped, my father's face turned red, and Caleb avoided eye contact. My grandfather had sold his own home for $600,000 to fund this, ensuring I wasn't overlooked. I deposited my $200,000 and knew exactly what to do with it. In finance, I learned idle money loses value, so I decided to open a restaurant, not out of a love for food, but as a solid business venture with steady income potential if managed well. After researching Kansas City's food scene, I identified a gap for upscale comfort food in the Crossroads district. The location had high foot traffic, affordable rent, and proximity to the business district for lunch crowds. I invested $180,000 to launch the venture, hiring Andra, a skilled chef I'd met through a client. Trained in New Orleans, Andra wanted a smaller venue for creative control. I kept my finance job, hiring a reliable manager for front-of-house operations. When the restaurant opened, I invited my family, hoping they'd finally be proud. We had glowing local reviews and were fully booked for the first 2 weekends. But during the opening, my mother whispered, "You should have partnered with Caleb. He's always wanted a restaurant." My achievement became about Caleb's missed opportunity. He spent the night acting like he ran the place, critiquing the menu to Andra's face, bossing staff around, and telling guests he was advising on the business side. I stayed quiet, used to it. The early months were brutal. I worked my finance job from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., then headed to the restaurant until midnight. Weekends were consumed by supplier issues and staffing challenges. Despite the grind, it paid off. We built a loyal customer base, earned stellar reviews, and were named one of Kansas City's top 10 new restaurants. Profits came faster than expected, and I was proud of what I'd created. Meanwhile, Caleb burned through his $200,000 inheritance in under a year on parties, VIP club tables, and rented sports cars. His social media flaunted his reckless spending. A $5,000 watch one week, a Vegas trip the next, posing with a rented Lamborghini like it was his. Worse, he told everyone the restaurant was a family business, even pitching himself as the owner to potential partners and giving his card to suppliers. My bar manager showed me a $700 tab Caleb tried to write off as a business expense. When confronted, he shrugged, saying, "We're family, it's all the same money." Then Caleb got his girlfriend, Vanessa, pregnant. He'd led her to believe he was a successful entrepreneur. She was stunned to learn he was jobless and broke, but this only fueled his entitlement. He became obsessed with claiming my restaurant. The real family drama began. My mother called me to an urgent family meeting. I arrived to find 20 relatives, mostly from her side, arranged like a courtroom, with chairs facing a sofa where my mother sat. My father stood by the fireplace, glaring. Two strangers flanked Caleb. His friend Travis, a repeat offender with a shaved head and tattoos, and our cousin Jake, who'd been living with my parents. My mother announced Vanessa's pregnancy and their upcoming wedding. Everyone clapped and I offered a quiet congratulations. Then she hit me with it. "Ethan, you've worked hard and I'm proud, but think bigger. Think about your brother and his child. Make Caleb a co-owner of the restaurant. He needs stability and family businesses should stay in the family. He deserves half without investing a dime." The room nodded in agreement, one relative muttering, "Ethan's the older brother. He should look out for his own." They expected me to agree, as if it was decided. I stared at my glass for a minute before responding, "Are you serious? I built that restaurant with $180,000 of my money and 80-hour weeks. You want me to give half to Caleb for nothing? No way." My mother snapped, "He's unemployed and about to be a father. You're being selfish. What about your nephew?" I stood, unmoved by the staring relatives. "Where's the $200,000 he got from Grandpa?" Caleb claimed he lost it in a bad investment, but I laughed. "You spent it on parties and strip clubs. Should I show everyone the photos?" His eyes flashed with anger as Travis whispered to him. I turned to my parents. "I'm not giving him half. If you want him as a partner, pay me $200,000 for his share. Do whatever you want with it." My father threw his drink at me, yelling, "Watch your tone, I'm still your father." The room froze. I wiped my face, grabbed my coat, and left, saying, "Thanks for reminding me where I stand." Calls and texts flooded in from relatives, some apologizing, others pressuring me to help Caleb. I ignored them. My parents showed up at my house and restaurant, and Caleb and Travis stormed in during a dinner service, accusing me of stealing from family and demanding a share. I had them escorted out. Staff grew uneasy. My hostess quit after Caleb threatened to fire her, and 2 servers changed shifts to avoid him. Andra stayed loyal, but the drama wore on him. A lawyer said a restraining order was unlikely without violent threats, so I sent a cease and desist letter. My mother caused a scene at my office, embarrassing me with my employer. Things escalated when Caleb, high and belligerent, demanded a reserved table and lunged at me when I told him to leave. We crashed into a table, breaking dishes. He landed a punch before I pinned him down. He screamed, "If I can't have it, neither will you," as security dragged him out. I filed a police report for assault and his threat, but he was released on bail the next day. Things quieted down and I thought Caleb had backed off. I was wrong. The restaurant faced cancellations and negative Yelp reviews about the family drama. I hired a security guard, straining my budget. Then Andra called in a panic. The restaurant was on fire. I raced across town, seeing flames from blocks away. By the time I arrived, it was engulfed. The fire chief confirmed major damage and asked about possible causes. I mentioned Caleb's threat. The next day, I gave a detailed statement to Detective Harper, outlining the family conflict and Caleb's actions. She warned that arson cases take time to prove. I called Caleb, who played innocent, smirking over the phone. Maybe it was bad wiring. I hung up, certain he was guilty and thought he'd get away with it. Investigators confirmed arson, finding accelerant and a broken back door. A kitchen camera Andra installed caught 2 figures resembling Caleb and Travis pouring liquid and lighting a match, though their faces weren't clear. I dealt with insurance adjusters, supported my staff, and managed supplier and customer concerns. The financial hit was massive. Insurance had a high deductible and business interruption coverage was limited. My parents showed up begging me to drop the charges, claiming Caleb made a mistake. I refused, saying, "He committed a felony, not a mistake." They accused me of jealousy and disowned me, saying my grandfather would be ashamed. I countered, "He raised me to stand up for myself, something you never did." A gas station's clear footage showed Caleb and Travis buying gas cans with their credit cards. Search warrants uncovered incriminating texts from Caleb. "If I can't have half, neither can he." Clothes with accelerant traces sealed the case. Both were charged with arson, conspiracy, criminal mischief, and insurance fraud. Travis took a plea deal, testifying against Caleb for a 3-year sentence. I visited Caleb in jail. Unshaven and in an orange jumpsuit, he smirked. "Come to help me, big brother?" I asked why he did it. He spat, "You're a selfish jerk who always gets his way." I replied, "I worked for everything. You had it handed to you." He taunted, "How's it feel knowing I took it from you?" I left, saying, "You'll be in prison for years." Was it worth it? With Attorney Charles, I forced a partition sale of the co-owned house. My parents fought it but lost. The house sold for $500,000. My $250,000 share was immediate, while Caleb's was held in escrow for restitution. My parents downsized, and I felt closure, not joy. Vanessa had their son, Mason, but I ignored my parents' guilt-tripping messages. The trial was swift. Evidence, footage, receipts, texts, Travis's testimony, and forensics was overwhelming. I testified about Caleb's threats and the family meeting. The jury convicted him in 6 hours. He got 8 years, with parole possible after 5, and $150,000 in restitution from his house share. My parents didn't acknowledge me in court. Post-sentencing, they begged me to forgive Caleb, disowning me when I refused. I walked away, relieved. Insurance paid $230,000 for the building, $45,000 for business interruption, and $25,000 for inventory. With my $250,000 from the house, I had $550,000 to rebuild. I chose a pricier river market spot with better traffic. Permits and construction took months, but I kept my staff supported, offering promotions and temporary job help. Andra stayed, designing the new kitchen and hosting pop-up events to keep our brand alive. The new restaurant opened stronger, and I gave Andra a steak as promised. My family's gone, but I've built something lasting with people who stand by me. Thank you for watching my story. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and press the bell icon. Stay tuned for more real-life stories, get more experiences.